All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our very first Math Foundations class. I'm super excited about this class because, like I was saying earlier, I think even when I went through the program, I went through the baking pastry program a little while ago, and all of my classmates, me included, everybody was like, oh my gosh, we have to take a math class. Oh my gosh, this is stressing me out. Like everybody just kind of went like that when they heard the word math. So the good news is we're going to give you this foundations class. Okay, it's going to be about 4 weeks long, and it's going to cover, each week we're going to cover a different section, and it's going to be really, really basic. Okay, some of this you may just be like, I do this already in my sleep. Some of it may be real new to you. Some of it you just may need to brush up on. Either way, this is a resource so that for the rest of the program, there's going to be different times throughout the program where you're applying the skills that we're learning in these next 4 weeks, okay? So, before I get started, some of you don't know me. I apologize. My name is Chef Rachel. I am a tutor here with Escoffier, and we have a whole tutoring team. If you're not aware of that, we have a tutoring team. If there's anything that you guys find yourself having issues with Google Drive, with the narrative, with the math, with the tech part, that's what we're here to help you with. We cannot give you guidance on cooking or baking techniques, skills, things like that. Those are all questions you definitely want to ask your chef. But anything else like Google Drive, that kind of stuff, we can help you with. And then we also offer these extra bonus sessions. So we've got this Math Foundations class that we're just starting. And of course, there's Google Drive sessions and tech sessions, all that kind of stuff. So we're really here to support you guys and give you extra help where you may need it. Okay, so I'm going to just say, just like a normal live session, go ahead and keep yourself muted. You can have your camera on or off, totally up to you. I love being able to see faces when I'm talking to y'all, but that's totally up to you. And then at any point, sometimes I get really excited about what I'm talking about and I might start talking really fast. I'm from up, Central New York, okay? So don't hold that against me. I get talking really fast. Just feel free to interrupt me, stop me, say, hey, can you go over that again, whatever. That being said,
you hit me in New York there, Chef.
yeah. So that being said, just remember that this is being recorded. Okay, so if right now you don't have to worry about writing every single thing down. I'd rather you kind of learn and watch and really participate to absorb it. And then you can always go back and watch the recording, take notes. And we even have a new resource that we're going to be sharing with you guys of flashcards. So each section that we are doing, we're going to give you a link to digital flashcards so you can get even more practice on it. So some really cool stuff happening with tutoring. If you can't tell, I'm very excited about it. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started, and I'm going to kind of give you an overview of what we're looking at here. I cannot see the chat super well when I'm screen sharing, so feel free, like I said, to just take yourself off mute if you have a question.
Emil, be sure de que esto está en block.
Okay. All right, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And we are going to get started. Bear with me here. There we go.
Como yo sé que está block camera.
Okay. All right, guys, make sure that you're staying muted, please. There we go. Okay, you can unmute if you have a question by all means, but go ahead and stay muted unless you have a question. Okay, so this is the program or the class, or however you want to say it, the bonus session that we're working in here. Okay, like I said, it's going to be 4 weeks. So today we're going to talk about numbers. The majority of it is going to be about rounding numbers, but we're going to talk about numbers in general, just so that we all, like I said, some of this is going to be review, some of this is going to be a while since you've thought about this. And then there's certain things that like you just do without really thinking about. So we're going to try to explain some of the, I always do that. We're going to try to explain some of the things that, you know, maybe you haven't done in a while, okay? We're going to have two separate conversion classes, one on volume, one on weight. And then we're going to also talk about converting decimals to fractions, fractions to percents, all that kind of stuff, okay? Hang on just a second. Let me fix my screen here. Let's see. I am actually going to come out of that and I'm just going to stay in this mode here. Okay, so first we are going to we're going to talk about the difference between dropping and rounding numbers, okay? And again, that may seem pretty obvious, but I just want to go over it again so that everybody has the same information, okay? So dropped numbers are numbers that are insignificant or unnecessary, okay? So this comes really into play when we're talking about portions, and we're going to go into more of that in just a second, but we can never serve partial portion, okay? Can't serve or charge for a partial portion. So that partial portion number is dropped, and I'll explain what that is in just a second, okay? So I want you to think about this as if somebody ordered, well, I'll tell you that in a second, okay? So a number that is dropped is insignificant or unnecessary, okay? A number that is rounded, this is something that we do on a daily basis. It's simply adjusting numbers up or down to simplify it while keeping the value close to what it was, okay? And like I said, rounding is really something that we're doing every day. If you are going somewhere and it's, you know, 55 minutes away, you're generally not going to say, I have to drive 55 minutes to work or 57 minutes to work. You're going to say, work is an hour away.
The slide back up while you're talking.
Yep.
If you don't mind.
Yep.
Sorry.
Sure. No, you're good. So it's really all about, you know, estimating closest to the value that you want it to be. So time is really one of those that we estimate a lot, okay? So generally, if something's gonna take me more than 45 minutes, I'm just gonna assume that it's gonna take me an hour, okay? If something is gonna take 6 minutes, I'm probably gonna say, hey, it's probably gonna be about 5 minutes, all right? It's estimating to the closest value without completely changing it, okay? We'll get into more of that in just a second. Don't worry about like writing every single thing down because like I said, you can come back to the recording too. Does somebody have a question?
Yes, Chef. Does that include like a market there? That's where you're adjusting your prices on, you know, what the market decides you're going to charge for a piece of meat one day and the next day it's up or down. Is that what you're talking about too?
No, I think that's a different thing, Stephen. Rounding will really just, you know what? I'm going to show you examples. It's a lot easier when I show you examples. So hang on to that question, okay? All right. Before we get into rounding, we're going to talk about dropping the numbers, okay? Because that's what we're going to do for portions, okay? Portions must always be whole numbers, okay? There's never a decimal in a portion. Okay, everything right of the decimal is dropped. So if this was our number, 123.456, okay, if we did an equation in our kitchen math and this was our answer, our complete answer is we're going to be able to serve 123 portions, okay? So when we're talking about portions and somebody says, how many portions is that? You're literally just dropping off anything after the decimal point, okay? Because this part, the 1, 2, and 3, that's a whole number. The 4, 5, and 6, this is a partial number, right? Because if this 3, this is a whole 3 number, right? This is, if it was 1, it would be 1 whole. But this is just part of a whole, okay? So the portions have to be the whole number. So here's an example. You cannot serve a partial portion to a customer. A customer will not pay for 11 donuts when they order a dozen, okay? And again, I am a baking person, so I tend to give you a baking example, so you'll have to work with me on that. But it's the same thing to anything. Let's say you're serving hamburgers and you only have enough burger buns for some reason somebody drops one on the floor, so you only have 11.5 burger buns, right? Well, you can only serve 11 burgers because that last person is not going to pay for a burger and only get the bottom bun, okay? So let's look at what that looks like. Here's just a couple visual, I'm a visual person, so I try to share that. So right here, we've got 2.75 portions of spaghetti, okay? So as you can see, this last plate of spaghetti is cut off, all right? So that means if somebody says, if you do a math equation, because you're gonna do math equations with portions, and it says, how many portions do you have to drop off anything that's after the decimal. So that means that you're gonna have 2 portions, okay? So you go from 2.75, we drop off the 7.5, and that makes 2 whole portions. All right, let's look at cookies. If you've got 18.2 portions of cookies, well, you might as well eat this last little bite because you cannot serve it. You can't charge somebody for a partial cookie. They're not gonna buy that, okay? So here you have 18 cookies or 18 portions. Okay, here's a burger explanation or burger picture. Even though it's, you know, just a little bit, or let's say just
Something's going
little bit.
wrong. You're glitching. Is that bug still in there? Now you really are like.
Can't hear you.
You can hear me. But I can't hear her.
Yeah,
How
we
you
hear each
doing?
other, but we can't hear her.
Hello.
I know.
Okay.
How y'all doing?
Rachel, what's going on, girl? Can't hear you, girl.
We lost her. Yep.
Mhm.
Probably gonna come back in.
Uh-oh. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Right.
Hey.
Mopping my
We
floor.
lost Rachel.
Right. I'm at work.
I think we lost Rachel.
Yeah, we lost her.
All right, hang on, I'm here. I'm here.
Hey, girl. Okay.
Okay, I'm so sorry. Okay, my computer kicked me off. All right, so we were talking about portions. Where did I get cut off?
The cookies.
The cookies.
Yes.
Okay, let me go back to where we were at before that. I apologize if that happens. Just hang out with me. I'll be right back. Okay, so we've got, if we have 18.2 portions of cookies, that's what it might look like, but this is what you have, 18, okay? Now, the same thing with the burger. You've got just a little bit of extra burger, that it doesn't matter. You have to just say that you have 1 burger, okay? So I'm gonna stop right there, especially since we got cut off. So portions are really simple. That doesn't include any rounding at all. You are literally just dropping off anything after the decimal. So when you start doing the math questions that have to do with
I got a
portions.
quick question with as far as the portions is concerned.
Yeah.
I mean, let's say if you have 18 cookies, but you got 20 people, do you have to make another batch in order to get
Well,
that 20?
you do. Yes, you do. So that's a whole separate thing. So that's in the fact of the question would be, you know, if I need this many, but this batch makes this many, how many do I need to make? That's kind of a different thing. And that is a whole other math class. We're not going to get into that today, but that's a good question. So the question that you're going to receive about portions is going to be how many portions can you make, okay? And you're gonna do an equation. I'm not gonna get into the equation right now, but when you get that answer and in your calculator, if there's a decimal, you need to know that you drop off anything after the decimal, okay? That is the main idea of portions and dropping the number. Okay. Any other questions on portions or dropping the number before we move on to rounding?
No.
Okay. All right, so let's look at rounding. All right, so this is a little bit more, there's a little bit more to it, okay? Rounding is a way to simplify a number without greatly affecting the value. Now, when you round, it is going to affect things, okay? It's going to be a little bit more or a little bit less than the exact number, but in the long run, that's not going to be a huge deal, okay, for when you're figuring these things out. So to round, you're going to first identify the number you are rounding to, okay? And we're going to talk about that in a second because that's all about place value, okay? So you identify where you are rounding to, then you look one digit to the right, okay? So I found my number that I'm rounding to, I look to the right, and then I apply the rounding rule, okay? Now, what is the rounding rule? That is, if the number is 0 to 4, we keep it the same. If it's 5 to 9, we round it up, okay? Now, like I said, this is something that you guys are doing in real life more than you probably realize. You know, if you have a candy bar and you eat just one little bite of it and 9/10 of it are left, you can be like, I didn't really eat that much. But if you ate all but one bite, you're gonna say, I basically ate a whole candy bar. Okay, so let's look at what that looks like in math form. All right, so the first way that we round is in money. Okay, now when we're looking at money, money always has, it can have as many numbers to the left of the decimal as we want. Okay, the more numbers the better, right? Because that just means more money, as long as that's income and not what you're spending, of course. But to the right of the decimal point, there's always 2 digits. Okay, so if you do a math equation and in your calculator, this is the number that pulls up, 123.456. This needs to be rounded. So we're going to follow the 3 steps. We're going to identify the number that has to be rounded. Well, I just told you there's always 2 digits to the right of the decimal. So for money, we're going to look at the second digit, which is the 5. See how this is 2 spots over from the decimal, okay? So we're going to identify that the 5 is the number that we're rounding. To round it, we're going to look 1 digit to the right, which is the 6, and we're going to apply the rounding rule. Okay, right down here is the rounding rule. If the digit is 0 to 4, the second digit stays the same. If the third digit is 5 to 9, it's going to change. So in this example, 123.456, we look at the 5. That's the number that's going to either stay the same or change, okay? The 6 determines what happens to the 5. So since the 6 is between 5 and 9, this means that the 5 moves up to a 6. So rounded, 123.456 equals $123.46. Okay, so the 6 was above a 5, which means this 5 moves to a 6. It just moves up 1 number. So, and I know that there's like similar numbers and things like that. So let's do some examples, okay? We're gonna do these together. So you do a math equation, okay? And they wanna know how much it costs. And they want you, so that means you know that there's gonna be 2 digits. Your answer is gonna have 2 digits after the decimal point, okay? So this answer is 0.312. So we're going to look at the 1, and we know that this is the number, this is the last number that we need. So that's the number that's either going to stay the same or move up. From this 1, we're going to look at the 2 and apply the rounding rule. So since it's a 2, the 1 stays the same, and this answer is 31 cents. Okay, let's try another one. 0.258. So we look at the 5 because I told you with money there's always 2 digits after the decimal. We're going to look to the right, which is an 8, and apply the rounding rule. So since the 8 is above the 5, you know, between 5 and 9, this 5 turns to a 6. So this becomes 0.26 or 26 cents. Okay. Now let's look at this number. This one, you may get numbers like this in your calculator. When you do a formula, when you get into your math classes, you do a formula and you get this long, crazy number, okay? It does not matter how many digits you come up with. You are still only ever looking at the second and third one when you're rounding money, okay? And it's really important to remember this is the rule for money. This changes when we're talking about other things. So looking at this, the 1 is the number that is the last number that we're going to use. So that's the number that's going to get rounded, either stayed the same or rounded up. We're going to look over here to the 4. And we know from our rounding rule that that means that the 1 stays the same. So our answer becomes 0.81 or 81 cents. Okay. Now, just like I said, it doesn't matter if there's 75 numbers to the right. It also doesn't matter if there's any numbers to the left. Okay. Now, remember that with money, you can have numbers to the left, as many numbers as you want, okay, to the left of the decimal, but you're always only going to have 2 numbers to the right. Okay, so the very first thing that we're going to do is we're going to carry over the 97,420. We're going to put our decimal, and we're going to hit the 7. And then we know that this 4 is the last digit. So we have to determine, are we going to keep it the same or is it going to move up? We do that by looking 1 digit to the right, which is the 8. We know from our rounding rule that that means that this 4 becomes a 5. So you're rounding up 1 cent to the nearest cent, okay? And that's what the questions are going to say, round to the nearest cent. This 5 is 1 cent. This 1 is 1 cent, okay? That is how you round those money ideas. Okay, what questions do you have about that? Do we need to do more examples, or does that make sense to y'all?
Makes a lot of sense.
Good, yay.
Makes sense. I got it. Thanks.
Okay, awesome. Okay, very good. Okay, so I'm glad that that makes sense because now we're going to go in and we're going to talk about percents. Okay, so with percentages, this changes a little bit, okay, because there's not always 2 decimals to the right. There's not always decimals at all, okay? It really comes down to the question will tell you, or your instructor will tell you exactly what to round to, okay? So percentages are rounded to a specific place value, okay? This is probably bringing back some grade school memories, okay? This is one of those things that's like you're probably doing it and you're not even realizing what you're doing. This is one of those things, place value, okay? Generally, in the Escoffier program and with kitchen math in general, you're going to be rounding percentages to whole numbers, to the 10th place, or the 100th place, okay? We're going to go over that in just a second. So to round percentages, it's very similar to rounding money, okay? You're gonna identify the place value. So just like with the money, you're gonna find the number that they're asking for, okay? You're gonna look to the right of the digit to determine whether it stays the same or moves up. That's the same thing that we were just doing, right? And then we're gonna apply the rounding rule. So the only thing different with the percentages is you have to identify the place value that they're asking for, okay? So let's look at what that looks like. So here is a, 123.456, okay? So we know to the left of the decimal that the 3 is in the ones place, the 2 is in the tens place, and the 1 is in the hundreds place, okay? And we read that 123. That's all basic. Y'all know that, right? So as we go to the right of the decimal, okay, we start with the tenths place, the hundredths place, that's hard to say, and then the thousandth place, okay? So when somebody says round to the nearest tenth, okay, the 4 is the number that you're rounding. You're either keeping this the same or rounding it up, okay, depending on what's to the right. Okay, now, if somebody says round to the nearest hundredth, okay, then that 5 is going to be your last number. That means you're going to have 2 digits, just like with money, okay? If somebody says round to the nearest whole number, okay, then you're going to be rounding this ones place right here, okay? Now, in the rare chance, okay, for a SCAFI, this doesn't happen a lot, but this is really just for your own knowledge. If somebody said round to the nearest tens place, this is the number that you're going to round, okay? So if this was my number, 123, and they said round to the nearest tens, it would be 120, okay? So just like that, I said there, 123 is the whole number part, and 0.456 is the partial number. Okay, I'm going to stop right there for a second. So what I want to know is, how do you guys feel about place value? Does that kind of like bring back some memories? Does that, does that make sense? Does that jog
Yeah,
your
it makes a lot of
memories?
sense.
Yeah, it brings everything back from public school and junior high school. It just brings
Yeah,
everything.
Yes.
back in the day,
Basically.
elementary and like middle school, definitely.
Yep.
But it's good
Good.
to familiarize, yourself
Yes.
with it too.
Hey, y'all.
Good.
And then
And
still, like
so-
every time you do use it, you just really don't, we're not using it in these terms.
Right.
So it just
Yep.
brings it back like, oh, okay, that's this. And
But you don't
Yep.
use it for a minute.
So if somebody owes you $197, you're going to be like, you owe me $200. They,
Yeah, I need
it's-
all
so
my
think
money
of it-
too, huh? Yeah. Give me that
Exactly,
interest.
exactly.
but then they're
But-
gonna say, but I owe you.
I was just going to say that, but if you owe somebody $197 and, 51 cents, you are
She's breaking up again. No, it is.
I don't know what's going on. Come on. Is it 24 people on here?
Well, we do have some hurricanes coming over here on the East Coast,
Yeah.
so I don't know. Maybe that's why she's glitching like that, because I know my service is kind of acting up too. So
Oh, okay. Where you at? I'm in Oklahoma.
I'm in New York. I'm in Brooklyn.
Oh, okay. That's what's up. I always want to go
I'm
there.
from New York. That's cool.
Yeah, I was asking on the chat, is anybody around?
Yeah, no, I wanted to make an announcement, and since the chef isn't here for a second, I just wanted to let everybody know. I put it on the chat. If anyone's in the Vegas area, Las Vegas, Nevada area, I would love to definitely get together in person and, talk about stuff and study. And if not, you guys want to do an online thing.
She was in Vegas.
all right, guys. I'm so sorry. I'm back.
70 miles per hour, yeah.
Okay, so sorry, I'm back. Can y'all hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, I apologize for that. Thank you for hanging out and waiting for me to come back. This is crazy. All right, so numbers. Let's go into apply those principles that we were just talking about. All right, so let's say we want to round this to the nearest whole number, okay? So we know, since this is saying a whole number, that we are rounding the digit right before the decimal place, okay? We're not talking about portions, okay? We're rounding a percentage. If we were talking about portions, we would just drop this off, but we are rounding to the nearest whole number. So we're gonna look at the 2. This is our whole number. Look one digit to the right to the 1. That determines that the 2 stays the same. So our answer becomes 72%. Okay, let's try another one. Again, doesn't matter how many digits there are, okay? We're rounding to the nearest whole number, which is the 4, okay? We're gonna look to the right, which is an 8. We apply our rounding rule, which means the 4 moves up to a 5. So 1,094.82046% becomes 1,095%. Okay, visually you can see that the 0.82046, that is almost 1 whole percent. Okay, so that's why this 4 is moving to a 5. Okay, let me just check the chat real quick. Okay, I was trying to make sure I wasn't missing something there. Okay, let's do another one. So now this one, we're rounding to the nearest 10th. Okay, so the 10th, now not the tens, okay, this is the tens, but the 10th with a TH means this place. Okay, this is the number. We've identified the number or the place value that we're rounding. We're going to look to the right and apply our rounding rule. Our rounding rule is right here. 5 to 9 means we move up. So 72.189 becomes 72.2%. Okay. All right, let's look at this one. Round to the nearest hundredth. Okay, again, our place value tells us that the 8 is in the 100th place. Okay, so we look at this, we look one digit to the right, and we apply the rounding rule to the 8. So 72.189 becomes 72.19. Okay, because the 9 is greater than a 5, so we move up the 8. So essentially what happens is the number, so once you identify the number, the place value that you're rounding, the number to the right, what that number is, determines what happens to your place value number, okay? So the 9, we know, is above a 5, so that means that the 8 moves up, okay? All right, those are the examples I have. Before we go in, I want to show you guys the flashcards because I think they're really, really helpful, because sometimes you start taking these tests and the knowledge checks and you don't really, you take them and you might get the question wrong, but you don't really know why, or you don't know what the real answer is, so it's kind of hard to figure out where you went wrong. So these questions, the flashcards, give you all these questions of things that we covered, but they also give you the answers too. Okay, so we're going to go into that in a second. But for now, what questions can I clear up about place value or rounding percentages? Now, rounding percentages, I will say this, is the same thing as rounding numbers. Okay, but when we're talking about kitchen math, culinary math, you're generally dealing either in money or percentages, okay? And you'll learn all about that when you get to your costing class, but that's kind of why we give those examples. Okay, what questions can I answer for you guys about that, or what can I clarify before we move on?
I'm just, I was listening to it and I followed the cards that you had up, but from myself, I've always had issues with anything that had to do with math. I don't like it. And so
You're not alone.
the baker's math, I with Francine, I've gotten it down, quite a bit, but I got to go back to like the video and I got some flashcards she had sent me to work it, because I follow you, and I'm listening, but my brain trails off, you know what I mean? Because I got to sit and do it. So, but those cards are good. So as long as I have something to work with, then I should get it. I mean, I remember rounding and all that, but it just, so yeah.
You are so not alone, Sandra. Like, I'm sure everybody here is thinking, like, as soon as they heard or maybe saw my math message, they were like, math, oh God. You know what I mean? Like, everybody thinks that. Now, bakers.
You know what? I actually reached out to Chef Sophia and I was like, if you could, can you please give me any type of studying material with culinary math? Because I know that's going to be my biggest issue.
Yep.
So, and when she sent me, when you sent out the link, I was like,
I heard you. So here's the thing. Here's what I want you guys to know and think about the math, okay? Just as somebody that's gone through the program, as somebody that helps with the program, obviously, don't stress out about it, okay? If you are able to attend these 4 classes, you're going to have all the knowledge you need to take into it, because the math part, what's actually the math part, the multiplication, the division, the formulas that you're going to use, you're going to do it all on your calculator. Okay, there's no long division, there's no square roots, there's no crazy things like that. Okay, the hardest part, and it's not even, I won't say the hardest part, but the biggest part of culinary math is the word problems. And especially as you go through the class that you're going to take, the costing class that you're going to take, as long as you can identify what they're asking, okay, so the very last question or the very last part of the word problem is going to say, how much does it cost, or, what is your food cost percentage? As long as you can, identify that and then know which formula to apply to that question, which again, y'all, write some flashcards. We may have flashcards by that point for that, okay? You don't have to memorize this stuff. Then you just plug in the numbers to the appropriate place of that word problem. So I know word problems can be tricky. They can be a little scary because there's so many words. Like, I get it. I totally get it. But as long as you have this foundation, you're able to convert from ounces to cups really quickly and things like that, it's going to make the word problem part a whole lot easier for you. Okay, so that being said, any other questions about rounding? Don't freak out. Okay, that was my summary of that. Okay, don't freak out. We've got you. We're going to help you. And you don't have to memorize anything. Like, this is, the more you do it, the easier it's going to get. Okay, so like for those in the baking and pastry program, y'all have to learn baker's math. And I will tell you, that is not easy to learn. It takes a minute, it takes some time, but it's one of those things, the more you do it, the easier it gets. When you're baking at home for yourself, okay, if you're making yourself a batch of chocolate chip cookies just to drown your sorrow of kitchen math, okay, apply baker's math to it. Figure that out, okay? Do it on your own, things like that. And then when you get into the costing class, try to just take those word problems and just take them apart and kind of filter through them to get the information you need. With rounding and knowing your conversions and things like that, y'all are going to be good. Okay, what other questions can I clarify for now before we move on?
Hi, Chef. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. So I do apologize for being late. I was trying to log on and I was clicking on the wrong link. And I kept trying. I'm like, what? Okay, so I'm here. So apologize for being late. But my question is, when you keep saying word problems, could you give us an example of a word problem so we can have a visual what that would be like?
Yes. hang on. Actually, I can. Hang on just a second. I got to pull up my Google Drive here.
Okay.
And I will show you an example. Bear with me. Just a second. Okay, just making sure I hadn't lost y'all. Here we go. All right, hang on. My computer is being very slow right now. Bear with me just a second, guys. Ah, why won't that open? Let's see if I can I'll just try to think of one to show you, since this isn't opening for some reason. So let's say it would say something like this. This will be like one of the first ones that you get. You have 16 ounces of cheese, and each portion uses 2 ounces. How many portions can you make? Okay. Another one might be you buy fish for $5.99 a pound, and you need 6 ounces per portion. How much does each portion cost? Okay, that's an example. Let's see, another one. You'll have to figure out food cost percentage. Okay, and they'll give you different examples about that. Oh, this is open now. Let's see. Now that one won't open. That's generally the gist of it. Does that kind of help you guys? Like, those are the first couple ones that you're going to kind of cover. And a lot of it is stuff that you're doing already. You know, like if you're making a batch of cookies and one batch makes 12, but you need 24 cookies, you're going to have to double that batch. Okay. Or if one recipe uses 6 tablespoons of milk and you need to triple the batch, how many tablespoons will you need? Okay. So don't overthink it. All right. Just remember your basics, remember rounding, and then they throw those things in there, round to the nearest cent or round to the nearest whole number, things like that. And it's just like you see this big, huge word, 4 lines of words, but really you only need a couple numbers out of there. And the rest of it, it doesn't matter if you're making chocolate chip cookies or gazpacho or a beef roast, doesn't matter what you're making. Okay, they're going to always tell you what you're making. It's not important to the equation. So really figuring out those word problems are really just 90% of it is filtering out what you need and what you don't need. Okay, hopefully that makes you feel a little bit more comfortable with that.
Yeah. And I know you guys have been in this field for so many years and you've done it so many times, so it's like a memory to you. You don't have to think about it, but for us as students, we're new to this. And I feel confident now with the Baker's Math. So in the beginning I was a little nervous, like, oh my goodness, what in the world? So it's like that first step, that was a breeze. Then when they add Miss Chef, for instance, I think I'm pronouncing her name correctly, when she added that second step, I was like, okay, I got that. Then the third step, I was like, oh my goodness. So I guess, when anything is new, it's a little bit challenging, but once you do it more, you get more comfortable and you understand it better.
That's exactly right. Yep, that's exactly right. And Baker's Math is no joke. I mean, it definitely takes some time to really get it. And Francie is the master, so the fact that you're going to her for
really
help,
good.
going to her bonus sessions like that alone is
right.
huge,
Yeah,
because you're setting yourself up for success with that. But yeah, I mean, knowing how to round these numbers, that applies to Baker's Math too. So Yep.
Siobhan,
Right.
if I'm pronouncing her name correctly, Perry, she's asking what's Baker's Math. It's Chef Francis. She posted it on the student page. It's on the walk-in page, but then she also posted it under her information too on our student page. So if you want to look at the archives, all of the Baker's Math videos are on there, and you should start from the not the most recent week, but the last week.
First one.
Yeah, the first one, right? And look at it. But she's very she explains it very well.
Yep. And just to clarify, that is literally only for the baking and pastry students. If you're a culinary student, do not worry about it. It is not something that you need to get into because it's not. It just doesn't apply. So don't worry about that.
Okay.
If you're
and
like, oh my God,
I do
what is
apologize.
that?
I'm a baker student. I didn't mean to confuse anybody.
No,
Yeah.
you're totally fine. All right, so let's, I do want to show you one more thing here before we go, just because I think it's kind of fun. And then you will have access to this. I am not sure how we are sharing this with you, but these will be shared with you. This is through an app called Quizlet, okay? This works really well on mobile. You can download the Quizlet app. It's for free. And then we will send you a link and it will have these flashcards. And like this one says 12.1999 is rounded to what whole number? Okay, so you would just tap on it and you can test yourself, and then it has the answer. So the other side of the card has the answer, okay? On the mobile version, you can do all these different things. There's like a matching thing. You can drag and drop. You can test yourself, so on and so forth. But right now, these are almost ready to roll out to you, but they, so I am not sure how I'm giving this link to you yet, so stand by for that. I may be messaging it to you, but it has all the questions that we covered in this bonus session today, okay? So it's all about rounding to whole numbers. It's about identifying place value, rounding percentages, rounding portions. Again, it's all just to get you guys really comfortable. And some of this may seem super basic, but sometimes if you skip that basic step because you're okay with it, then when you get to the more complicated step that you know compounds the basic step with another idea, it can be a little overwhelming. So really just get really familiar with rounding, and really, and you know, honestly, there's lots of apps, games on your phone and stuff that you can download for rounding. My daughter was doing one last night and I was like, oh, that's actually really cool. That would apply perfectly for this. So you can have fun with it, you know, whatever your learning style is. I'm a nerd and I love games. So I thought that was really cool. I actually took it out of her hands and started doing it myself. So, you know, it's totally up to you, but we will also have these flashcards for you. Now,
Chef Rachel.
Yes, go ahead, Ty.
Hi. Listen,
Hi.
I end up, I downloaded it, but it's charging me. It was like $23 a month or something. So
okay,
what is the free link for that?
So you should be able to access, once we give you this link, you can access them either on your desktop or on the app with the link. You have to be given the specific link. It should not charge you. It will not charge you. I know for a fact that you can do it for free. If it tries to charge you, dismiss that.
Okay.
It's probably offering it to you. There's when you buy the app, it gives you more abilities, but you're not making the flashcards necessarily, so you don't have to worry about that.
Okay, yep. Well, I'll go and cancel that, and then just wait on you to send me the free link, though, because it does help. It does help, and it does work. So it's like sometimes the question, you know, in the knowledge, it'll just come to you because you already read some of it. But at the end of the day, it does help. It kind of balances itself out. But I'll go and cancel that one, and then I'll just wait on the link for you to send me.
Good. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Don't subscribe to anything. Thank you for asking that for sure. Don't subscribe to anything. And remember this, there's no assignments. This isn't necessarily directly applied to a class. You're not in a math class or anything right now. So there's no assignments per se. This is just getting you ready for the rest of the program where you're going to be converting ounces to pounds and cups to quarts and things like that. And then the word problems for costing, okay? So don't worry, this is just extra to get you ready. The app is called Quizlet. And I know I used it a lot for my daughter a couple of years ago. It is a cool program, you know, especially for studying things. You can make your own flashcards. Even on the free version, you may have all the bells and whistles. You know, you might not have all the different games and stuff that they offer, but you can certainly make digital flashcards for yourself. Absolutely. Okay, that was everything for today. All right. Next week, we are going to talk. Well, actually, I'm not going to tell you what we're going to talk about next week because we're still locking that on. But it's going to be conversions of some sort. Okay, which will also apply the rounding rules that we talked about today. And it's always going to be on Thursdays at 2 p.m. Central. So you can just throw this into your calendar for 4 weeks. Okay. And then by the end of the 4 weeks, you'll be finishing up your BK or CU 101, depending on what program you're in, and then you'll be ready to move on to the next thing. Let's see. Yeah, okay, so I'm just looking in the chat to see if there was anything that I didn't cover. Anybody else have any questions before we wrap up for today?
Will this be on the archive, Chef Rachel?
Yep.
Because I missed the first 30 minutes or so. Okay.
Yep. So this is recorded, and then shortly this will be listed in your class page at the top. Oh, that's what I wanted to show you. Okay, so hang on a second. Let me log in, or let me pull up the class pages, and I'll show you where you're going to be able to find it. Hang on just a second. Bear with me just a second here. Okay.
Hello?
Hey Barry, what's going on? Did you have a question?
I'm sorry, I just tuned in just now.
Okay.
Will this be on my class page so I can look over it again?
Yep, so I'm pulling the class page up right now to show you where you'll be able to find it.
Okay, thank you.
It is being recorded, and I'm going to share my screen here in just a quick second to show you that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, here we go. All right. Okay, so here's your class page. This is just BK 101. It'll be the same place for the CU 101, okay? This is the very top. This has all your important resources, your success coach. Your tutoring information may or may not be there, but that's pretty much there. And then here are all, if you're in the baking program, here are all the archived baking classes. And then this, oh, my computer stopped. Move down. My computer does not like me today, guys. Okay, there we go. Here we go. Math Foundations right here. Okay, this says click here to join. That's for today's link. That's the same link for every week. Okay, right underneath this is where the replay will be posted. Okay, so there'll be a text link right underneath this that it will be posted. So right above week 1. Okay, I think that's it. I'm going to stay on the phone or stay on here just in case you guys have any other questions that you want to ask. But other than that, you guys have a great day.